Hello and welcome to Easter Eggs right here on Hyper RPG. I'm your host as always, Scott Shuken. Today, our topic of discussion is the convention GaymerX. I'm sitting here with Mel Fox. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course.
Tell us a little about what GaymerX is. It's a convention in California, but it's not your average gaming convention.
Correct. GaymerX is a convention centered around LGBTQ, etc. Issues and representation and inclusion. So the point of the convention is to really give gay, etc. gamers a space to come and meet other gay gamers, hang out with people that they know are cool with who they are, and really get some time to spend with like-minded individuals, and also discover new games that are that feature gay characters or non-binary characters, trans characters, stuff like that.
Discovering new games is always like the real, golden nugget of any convention is to go play a bunch of games.
Big Expo Hall.
By the way, that's if you want to Google that, which you can. It's Gamer with a Y in the middle, GaymerX, all one word. Mm-hmm. And you guys are funding it over Kickstarter.
So we're funding it two ways. One, obviously, ticket sales, which are live and at early bird prices for the next 6 days. So if you want to go, get on that. But through our Kickstarter is just a general show of support, and you can get some cool swag and stuff as well.
Cool. So Kickstarter to just donate. Mm-hmm. But get your tickets now. Yeah,
if you want to support the con, get like a cool t-shirt, Gaming Gay Mafia t-shirt. It's very cool, not an actual mafia. Or you can also sponsor someone else to go to the con. So if you pledge at that level, it'll make it so a person who couldn't go otherwise gets a free ticket, which is a good way to support the community.
Yeah. It's a great gift idea, by the way. If you're thinking about, you didn't know I didn't get my grandma an Easter gift. Get her a ticket to GaymerX. It'd be great.
Yes.
I'm just going to remind the audience, of course, that you're always welcome to ask us questions here on the live chat. You'll notice there's only two of us today. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be even more informal than usual. So go ahead and jump in, ask us stuff. We're going to have a great time. Tell us about GaymerX. It's a convention, but tell us what goes on more specifically. What are the events? Mm-hmm. What can you expect to see if I go to GaymerX?
So if you go to GaymerX, you will expect to see a ton of gay, trans, non-gender conforming individuals and allies. We totally have, straight cis white males that come. It's totally not a problem. And you'll see there's cosplay contest. If you love doing any video game cosplay, which I believe this year is hosted by the fabulous Kitty Striker, who from Kitty Striker's Matchmaker. Cool. You will see concerts. We have, Samus coming back. I believe we have 2 Mellow, who did the soundtrack for Read Only Memories. We have big parties, like the VIP party is huge, and then there's parties every night. We've got panels. Specifically, we've got more high-level, like industry-level panels, like that you'd see at things like PAX and GDC. We have those same speakers come. And we also have fan events. There is a Pokemon tournament where you get legit badges if you beat different gym leaders.
The game or the cards?
The DS or game, yes. Okay. Yes.
And it's the current generation?
Oh, I feel like there were probably people playing many generations.
All right,
there's the Golden Bay Pokemon League is a organization in California that you can get legit gym leader.
So
badges.
I could bust out my super outdated silver skills because I didn't learn any of the stuff past that and still have a good time.
Well, yes, let's do it.
Finally,
why not?
Finally, that's cool. So you mentioned that there's a lot of cool industry guests that come. Mm-hmm. Who in the past have come that have been at GaymerX?
In the past, we have had. Oh shoot. I'm so in the current year that I'm going to embarrass myself. Oh, we had the voice of Shepard, the female voice of Shepard.
Is it Susan Eisenberg?
No. I'm losing so much. I'm losing so much cred right now.
Oh, come on. I'll bet in 30 seconds when the chat catches up to us, we're going to see just over and over. Here's the name of Femchat.
What if I cheat? Great. What if I cheat just like a little bit?
A little bit. But that's cool that you have the voice actor of Commander Shepard for the Mass Effect games.
Jennifer Hale.
Jennifer Hale, that's right. Who's one of the most prolific voice actors in the industry.
Yes.
There's 5 women who do everything, and she's one of those 5.
And
That's
we
really
had
cool.
David Gator from BioWare. He came to GaymerX Australia, which we did this early
You guys
this
have an
year.
international convention too?
Yeah, it was our first time going international. And so, yeah, GX Australia. David Gator was there, who worked for BioWare for 17 years. And now he is...
17 years at BioWare.
Yes.
So what has he worked on? I'm sure he's worked on things like Mass
he
Effect. Did he work on KOTOR? Is it going back that far?
Yes, he worked on KOTOR. And he has always been, like, he is gay himself and has always been a light pusher, when it was the 90s and you didn't have any gay characters in games at all. Mm-hmm. And he made sure that there were same-sex options for everyone. And, Jade Empire, all the way up through Dragon Age. So he went to GaymerX Australia as a boss of honor, which are special guests. And he actually wrote...
Your guests of honor, your bosses of honor?
Yeah.
That's a gaming convention for you.
Right. And he actually wrote a super thoughtful Facebook post afterwards talking about why GaymerX was a life-changing experience for him, and that in his almost 2 decades of game development and going to industry events and whatever, this was the first time he felt like he could be himself.
And this guy, this isn't just like some new kid in the industry. He's been making great games for his whole career, and this is the one time where he's felt like this
where
is
he
the
could
place
he
where
could
I'm
take
accepted.
down the mask. Our founder Matt Kahn has a saying that if you are a gay geek, you have to take off the geek when you're with gay people, and you have to take off the gay when you're with geek people, and you don't have to do that at GaymerX.
This is the place where it gets to be both. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the games that are celebrated and talked about at GaymerX. What are like the big ones that you're going to see every year that people are like, this represents us?
So GaymerX was formed by Midboss, who's a gaming development company, and their big release was Read Only Memories, which you should pick up. And it is a adventure game where one of the biggest things about it, for me personally, when I played it, when you set up your character, you get to pick your name, you get to pick your pronouns. So if you are non-binary, trans, whatever, you can put whatever you want for your pronouns, name, and then also you get to pick your food choices. You can put if you're vegan, and your little robot friend will never recommend you a meat dish. And it's like that level of personalization wouldn't happen without all of the steps that have been taken, this far. And so that's one of the games that gets featured every year because, hey, same company made it. We also talk about Bayonetta a lot.
Really?
Yes.
Bayonetta.
Bayonetta.
So what is it about Bayonetta?
So, she's got... People joke about it being, problematic fave, because she is incredibly, like, all of her poses and all of the camera is entirely male gazy, but at the same time, she totally owns it. Like, there's nothing that Bayonetta does that feels like it is a non-Bayonetta action. Mm-hmm. Like, that was a big difference for me in playing that game, was like, it's eye candy out the wazoo, but it always feels like she's super owning it, and it's not something that was like, and then the cameraman put the camera right here or anything like that.
Exactly. It's not like, it doesn't feel like, oh, somebody made this character or this design, and then somebody else was like, all right, now we're gonna put her into a photo booth.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it all just feels like her.
Cool. All right, we got a question from the chat that I thought was interesting, and asks, what is the overall, what are you trying to achieve? What's the overall goal of something like GaymerX?
The goal of GaymerX is to show that, like, to take a chant from wherever, we're here, we're queer, get used to it, right?
Right.
So it's a way for not only the community to come and find like solidarity and know that you are not alone, which can feel super isolating online. It's also to show companies and game developers like, yes, we are here and we spend money. Like, this is a target demographic that you can like make happy, and it isn't going to, lose your fans. Like, the people that really care about your product are still going to care about your product, even if there's a gay character, out on the side. Like, so, yeah.
So it's all, ideally then, would you say, do you want the convention to sort of become obsolete at some point? Is that kind of the end goal? Where like, we don't need to do this?
If there was never, a time where, somebody puts a NPC in a game then gets flamed, that would be amazing. If GaymerX could become obsolete, because there's
Set
so
your
many
stopwatches.
there's so many, accepting spaces otherwhere. Yes.
Cool. Speaking of, you said it's about showing, especially the industry, like look at how many people want this kind of thing. How big is the convention?
We had 3,000 attendees last year.
Wow. And that last year was your third year as a convention?
Yes.
Have you ever been to a convention in its infancy? There's like hundreds of people if you're lucky.
I feel like the
huge
first
for year 3 of a convention.
I think the first year was 1,200.
Wow.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, don't quote me on it.
A convention out of nowhere in California, of all places, where conventions have showed time and time again. It's really hard to make them work in California.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it started out in San Francisco, which is like, gay capital.
Right. But not necessarily gamer capital.
Right? Yeah, no,
like
true.
There's lots of gay pride in San Francisco, but it's not necessarily... You got to go south a little bit before you get to where all the geeks are making all the tech.
Yeah.
Right. We mentioned it is in California. It's in Santa Clara, right? That's cool.
We actually needed to switch hotels from last year to get more space.
That's a good problem to have.
So Expo Hall's going to be bigger. Arcade's going to be bigger. Tabletop is going to be bigger, which I'm very excited about personally as a big D&D person.
So we also that actually brings us to another question we got in the chat. It's more than just video gaming. You got tabletop gaming. You have card gaming.
Yes, we have.
The question was about Magic the Gathering specifically.
You know what? If you want to play Magic the Gathering, go on our website, go on our panel submissions, and say you definitely want to have like a Magic the Gathering block. I know that we have a tabletop room that's going to be open as much as possible. I know he wants it 24/7. I'm not sure if we can staff it 24/7, but 24/3.
24/3, but three uninterrupted days of tabletop gaming.
Yeah, but we
for serious tabletop gamers though, that's just like a weekend.
Yeah.
That's we can play a game and a half and we'll pick it up next time.
I go to Gen Con every year, and yes, definitely their programming book is like this.
You say you go to Gen Con, so what's your experience with conventions, right? How did you, I'm sure this isn't your first convention. You've been to conventions that made you think, we need something like GaymerX.
Yeah, so I'm actually a newer member of the team. I came on early this year, but I have, so just with conventions or with gaming too? Just with conventions.
Let's talk about conventions. We're going to get to your gaming origin story, because we got, that's, of course, a whole story for all of us.
I worked as a freelance artist and went to 7 to 10 conventions a year for a few years, and then also started up with a game company. And since 2012, I've been attending conventions with them to demo games, show off our game, etc. And that's when I got really involved in conventions and panels and giving talks and everything like that. So GaymerX put out the call for more staff, and I was like,
definitely.
Yeah. Like every studio that I've worked at, I've tried really hard to not push the envelope, but just be like a voice of more inclusive subject matter and characters and everything like that. And so like to be a part of GaymerX is the absolute perfect place for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love when we have people in here that are like, oh, I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah, it's exactly the change that I want to be making in the world.
That's excellent. So then you mentioned, though, let's talk about gaming. Let's talk about how do you become a gamer? Where does it start?
I started with a Nintendo original entertainment system when I was a wee one. I'm in my 30s, so I wasn't that much of a wee one. But so I started with, Mario and Super Mario 2, which I would play the first level over and over again because I really liked Birdo and Peach. And then I actually have an anxiety disorder that makes a lot of video games hard for me to play, like first-person shooters, platformers, things like that. I just can't. I don't like the timing aspect.
Right.
So
I gotta get it now.
Yeah. That like it brings out a flight or fight in me that is abnormal.
I totally get that. I'm a similar way with like stealth-based games. Whenever I play a stealth-based game, I'm just like, for me, it's more impatience. But it's just like I can't. Like I'm not getting enough fun out of this.
Right.
It needs to work for you.
Yeah.
So then what do you find that you do love? What games do work for you?
So I ended up playing a lot of JRPGs because the turn-based combat gave me enough time to just like sit and chill. So I played a ton of Final Fantasies and everything like that. I played Pokemon, and I got into tabletop and I played Dungeons and Dragons like weekly for like 6 years from high school through college, and And then I took a little break again from gaming, but got back into it when, Steam was still young and I could go find indie games to play. So currently, and MMOs. I got into WoW deep for like 7 years. So I still play Guild Wars 2 weekly with a group of friends.
I was going to ask, like, nobody gets out of the MMO fully if they get that deep into it.
No.
So now it's Guild Wars, that's your MMO?
Yeah, there's no monthly subscription, so I don't feel like I have to play every day to make it worth it. So I play Guild Wars 2. I have a few. I'm starting Jade Empire over again, actually. And then Dragon Age Inquisition. I've been going between a few characters on. So
back to the BioWare RPGs.
I love BioWare RPGs.
What was your first BioWare
KOTOR.
game?
KOTOR on the original Xbox. I had been playing D&D forever, and then one of my friends was playing KOTOR, and he's like, I can't figure out how to make my character good. And I looked at him like, this is all fucking D20.
Right, you just gotta look at the numbers.
It was like, and I like took his inventory and like respect his whole character and was like, here you go. And he's like, what did you do? And I'm like, play Dungeons and Dragons? I don't know.
I had the exact same experience with KOTOR, where when I was a kid, I first played it and I was like, I suck at this game. I don't get it. Jade Empire, I got it. I loved Jade Empire. That was my first real BioWare game. And then I grew up and I was like, this is just fucking D20. I'm like, oh no, I can play KOTOR. I get this. So then when do you playing these games, especially a lot of JRPGs? When does the idea of representation and depiction begin to like enter the way you view games? Is it kind of immediately?
Me personally, I'm non-binary, which means that I do not identify as male or female, something outside of that. So I use they, them pronouns, or avoid them completely. Because I know that's weird for people. I'm like, say my name like a Pokemon. I don't care. Just please don't call me she or he. So when it's like, make your character, and it says male or female, that's the point where I go, like, not for me. That's okay. I will go make a cool ass character, but it's just I at that point can no longer identify with the game.
So it was early on, just kind of when customization becomes a thing in gaming. That's when you're like, customization isn't enough in gaming.
Yeah. Even if you were given this is my personal quick fix, same models, just let people pick their pronouns. Like, let me pick my voice, let me pick, my model, which you can still rig as a more like male model or female model, and just let me pick that, and I'm good. I'm happy at that point. Yeah. I got to do that thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's an absolutely easy fix. It's just if you just choose, if they just say choose body type instead of choose male or female,
exactly.
That solves that problem just by changing the labels.
Yep.
That's it. Which, labels, of course, where we get into all this,
right?
all this gray area in the first place. So then you pretty early find out that games don't fully represent you. When is it you think to yourself, rather than just being a gamer and waiting for a game to come out, when do you decide I'm gonna take some action? This is gonna be my life?
So I was a freelance artist, and then I found a small indie studio that was making a game that was based around gender. And I started working for them, and then just kind of like nudging my way into like, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you thought about this? As I gained like rapport with the leadership and stuff. And eventually they were like, you can be our art director. And I'm like, nice.
So how do you get there then? How do you get into a job where you're already making a game?
I just slipped in where they had already done all that hard part. But the breadth of tools available to people right now is like intense, that you can just download Unity and go and make a game. You can just do it.
Hell, Undertale was made on GameMaker.
Right?
I took one intro to game design class in college, and I used GameMaker, and I'm like, yep. I'm not at all qualified to make video games.
Yes. Me neither.
Because I haven't spent the time, by the way. I think that, like you just touched on, everybody is to a certain degree these days. Everybody can make music. Everybody can make games. Everybody can create
the tools are right there within hand's reach.
Yeah.
And if you aren't a coder type, look up Construct 2. It is all drop downs. So you don't have to write the code. You just use the drop downs and it codes it for you. Cool. So you set all the parameters for everything. The tutorial thing took me like 45 minutes to do, and I made a little top-down shooter.
Wow, that's it?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Man, living in the future is awesome.
Yeah. There's also Tyranno Visual Novel Builder, which is if you want to make visual novels instead of, action games. That one is all just drag and drop.
That'll work.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through those. I'll just list them again because you
Okay.
just listed like a bunch of great resources.
So Unity you can download for free. GameMaker, I believe the personal one is free, but you have to pay for a pro license. There's Construct 2, which is done by Sierra, and then Tyranno Visual Novel Builder, which you can get on Steam for like $15.
Cool. Let's go back to your personal story
Sure.
then. When do you decide? So you are making games before you're changing games.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get from playing games to deciding you want to make games? When do you build those skills, and when do you realize this can be a job?
Well, I came into it pretty late compared to most of the people that I know. Again, I'm in my 30s, and I didn't start in this until 2012, so I was still in my late 20s, and I have friends that are now in high school that are like, here's the games I'm making, and I'm like, that's cool. Like, I was still tracing Sailor Moon, and you're making video games. But for me, it was just like, I want to have my voice heard. I want to see myself in the things that I consume. I think that's fair. Like, if I'm going to spend, $60 on a thing, I should be able to find something that looks like me or something that feels that I can identify with.
Then how do you get your foot in the door then? How do you get from I want to do this to I'm doing this?
I highly suggest doing game jams, which if you look up, I believe on itch.io, they have a
ITCH?
Yes, which is not a Steam competitor, but another like indie developer platform. There are a million game jams. There's seriously like 2 to 3 a week all year round. So get involved with those. See if you can find a partner to do like half of the work.
Was that how you got involved?
No, I found out that the game studio was 2 hours from my house and was having a party. So I went to their party and showed them my art and got hired.
Wow.
So, that's a point about connections and networking. Like just being a cool person and being nice and helpful and like grateful gets you really far. Mm-hmm. Like not entitled, not I deserve this, blah, 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 but just like, I want to make this thing and here's what it looks like now. Can anyone, get me some critique on it? There are tons of communities. And Itch.io is a great one.
Yeah, and there's lots of you said what you just said about like being grateful and being friendly, and how generally whenever a connection helps you out, it's because you're the kind of person that they go, I want to help this person. Mm-hmm. If anybody who's ever been the connection to help somebody out, it's not usually because you're like, oh, I want to get something in return or,
right.
Quid pro. It's like, oh, hey, this is a cool thing. I want to help this become real. But also there's a certain amount of like, if I created an art portfolio mm-hmm. and went to a game party mm-hmm. and showed it to people, I would not be getting a job in any industry involving art. So your art must have been pretty impressive. What'd you have that you brought?
So again, really small company, really niche. I couldn't work for Riot. I couldn't work for Blizzard. Like my stuff is not that polished at all. So it was just a really right place, right time situation.
Cool.
But that being said, like there's so much information and tutorials and art and coding and everything help on the internet that it's completely possible for somebody who doesn't have a college education in game design or, fine arts or anything like that to get a job. It's all about just like doing the work and showing it off and being open and finding a good community of people who will be gentle and real with you.
Right. You don't want people to just be, you don't want to be disparaged and beaten out of the industry, but you also don't want people just blowing smoke.
You find people who you respect and that you trust and ask them for their honest opinion. And sometimes that hurts, which was what happened to me when I realized I couldn't. Oh, okay. So here's a good story. I drew 8 to 10 hours a day for several years. And the result of that was blowing out both of my hands. So I couldn't draw for 3 months. And after that, I had to I can only draw for maybe 2 or 3 hours a day tops now. So I realized I couldn't be a production artist anymore. Just that's off the table for me. And that's when I realized I had to start working on my management skills and everything like that. So I started learning how to do art production management and all this other stuff that would, like, my creative background was really helpful in, but I didn't have to use fiddly hands all day.
Right, you could do something that will actually work for you instead of, hurt you further.
Yeah. So now I'm a great boss.
But you mentioned, though, that you were doing art for hours a day, and so I imagine this was before you get the job, right? You have to... One of the threads through any artistic industry is you have to basically do the job without getting paid for it before you do it. How long were you just doing art all that time?
Don't actually give that art to anyone. If somebody's like, I'll pay you $20 for this full color picture,
but practicing,
do it for yourself.
Practicing has to be at the quality that you want to produce.
Yeah.
I trained in martial arts when I was younger, and we had an expression that practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. Yeah. Right? So if you're like, I'm just going to practice a couple sketches every day, then you never get...
You'll be really good at those sketches.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did. I would doodle Bruce Timm cartoons in college, and now I can draw the crap out of a Bruce Timm Superman, and that's it.
Yep.
That's all I've got. So how long were you deciding, basically, I want to be an artist before anybody paid you to be?
When I was 14, I decided that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then I started doing freelance in 2007. So that long.
All right. So that's 5 years of unpaid.
Oh, sorry. No, I was 14. I was 14 in 1998. So that was 9 years.
Did I just hear the word 2002 in my head? Did you not say that?
No.
Oh, that was all on me.
So 9 years.
Sorry, 9 years of I'm just making art.
Right.
Nobody's paying me for
it.
But it then pays out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now,
pays out, we're all indies here.
Right, of course. Now that we've talked a lot about the past, let's talk about the future.
Sure.
Specifically,
let's do it.
Who's going to be at GaymerX this year?
So this year we have a lot of cool folks. Let me see if I can remember them all because I am so in the organizational side that I forget all the names. But we've got Karen and Patrick Weeks, who currently work for BioWare. We're hoping to get David
Right.
Who knows?
Tell us about Karen and Patrick Weeks. They also work for BioWare?
Yes, they work for BioWare, and they helped write Iron Bull and Dorian. So we're really excited about that. We joked about bringing a big Iron Bull standee.
So they're both
Velvet
writers?
Rope. Yes, they're both writers. And they specifically wanted to come as a couple to show that they're straight allies. Like they are straight and monogamous and in a heterosexual marriage and are like, yay, GaymerX. Right. So that's really cool for us.
And it helps you sort of show that people who are straight, monogamous, and heterosexual and whatever want better representation in games too.
Yes.
If for no other reason, then has anybody complained about too many customization options?
I don't think so.
Exactly. So who else we got?
Oh, gosh. This is where I'm going to lose it. I know that we have... she goes by Quinae Moon on Twitter, and she is a feminist writer, and her first name is Catherine, and I can't remember her last name, which is killing me. And then Samus as a musical guest. Cool. And just like a ton of industry people, a ton of companies are coming out. Last year we had Intel and Blizzard, and we're really hoping to have them again. It was great to have Blizzard there, and like big blue letters like sponsoring the con. We're hoping to have a big recruitment area too, so companies that want to have like diverse across all gender, race, etc., can come and recruit for their company. Like it's really exciting.
That's cool. So would you recommend then people who want to work in the industry, would it be a good idea to bring a portfolio?
I think it would be. So 3,000 people is a lot of people, but that's still so much smaller than like PAX or GDC or E3 or anything like that. So this is a time to definitely get more face time with the companies that will be there than you wouldn't be able to at like PAX or GDC. Like normally, you have to sign up for slots. I don't think we sign up for slots. I think it's just like, come and meet some Blizzard people.
Cool.
which is awesome.
That's like, it's like your convention's in the sweet spot. There's always a period between when like they can't book any good guests and their guests are too big for anybody to see them who isn't paying $100 a ticket.
Right.
But you're in that area that everybody kind of wants the convention to be at.
Yeah, it's a really exciting place, and like we can feel the growth, which is really nice.
That is really cool. How much are tickets?
So currently there are early bird tickets for, I believe it's $60, which is the whole weekend. And those are only at sale at that price for the next 6 days.
So through to the end of the Kickstarter.
Yes. And then after that, the prices will go up. And we also have like VIP tickets, which gets you into like exclusive parties that the bosses of honor will be at, and concerts and everything like that, and cool swag, and drink tickets if you're into that sort of thing. You have to be 18 or over to go by yourself. We do allow anyone under 18, but just with a parent or guardian with them. And not because it's like an adult convention, but just we want to make sure that we aren't having to field unaccompanied minors.
And safety and accountability, of course, is going to be a big part of a convention like this, where it's not just, here's look at the games, it's more important. Let's talk about the games you think you're going to talk about this year. What at least in the last year, do you think is important to talk about this year at GaymerX?
Again, we'll, of course, talk about Ramen, of course, talk about Bayonetta, and Pokemon, of course. There has been a lot of talk about Baldur's Gate.
Really?
Have you heard about what happened with Baldur's Gate? With
No.
Their recent, okay, so they just came out with Beamdog.
I'm still just playing the Fallout 4 DLC. I'm behind on everything right now.
BioWare had Baldur's Gate and sent it over to Beamdog, which now David Gator works for. And they made a expanded edition, like redid the UI, redid a bunch of stuff, and also added a expansion that links the two games, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
Cool.
And they introduced a trans character.
All right.
Which is great.
That is huge. Yeah, especially a franchise like Baldur's Gate, which is like one of the big Dungeons and Dragons video games.
And it has gone over well with everyone except for who you would expect it to not go over well with. So we're going to be talking about that. And if you love Baldur's Gate, go talk about how much you love Baldur's Gate. Yeah.
What else? Are there any problematic games from the last year that you think will be big topics of discussion?
Oh. Let's see.
Well,
Blizzard.
What surprises you, I guess?
Well, what always surprises me is just the backlash, because there's all the talk of game developers should be able to do what they want, and game developers shouldn't be censored by anyone. And then game developers do what they want, and then there's all this backlash.
Yeah. They use the term organically so often, like, oh, I don't want this character forced into my story, as if people
like me don't exist.
Well, it also as if characters in fiction do. Right? As if it's this world of straight men
dragons
and women,
fine.
and they
Magic
have to
fine.
mold them to be not that. Like every piece of fiction begins on a blank sheet of paper, and then they decide this is going to be a man, this is going to be a woman, this is going to be somebody non-binary, this is going to be trans, this is going to be whatever. There's no organic creation in fiction.
No.
It's not, that is a fiction in and of itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's of course what they're going to talk about is the backlash. What games do you think that's happening with? Are there any games recently where you think, oh my god, this person finally did this thing, and everybody's freaking out? Besides, of course, Baldur's Gate.
Well, there was the thing with Blizzard too, with the Overwatch beta. There's a character, Tracer, with like okay, so this is currently my opinion. The pose, when she is wearing her outfit with shorts, looks fine. But when she's wearing her leotard, like there is like some serious wedgie action going on. And her victory pose was just like, this is my butt. Yeah. And so a lot of people were like, hey, that kind of makes me uncomfortable a little bit, because that's not her character. Like, she's spunky, she's fun, she jumps around everywhere, she shoots guns.
But then, isn't that granting the premise that spunky, fun characters can't be sexy?
Well, it's not saying that they can't be sexy. It's just like it didn't with the whole entire butt crack being completely visible. It didn't feel like it fit. Like, there's another character, Widowmaker, where like that pose, like showing off the butt is completely appropriate. So they just switched it a little bit and like lifted one of her legs, so she's like spunky and it's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's less about the pose and more about the way she wears the pose. The way she stands in it.
Yeah, well, and that the delicate butt crack like that was modeled. But I mean, even one of the Blizzard high ups said, this pose always kind of didn't fit for me, and I'm really glad to have the opportunity to fix it. Like, that's cool. So it was one of those like it's shippable, and then they're like, oh, let's change it. Like, and that's great that you can have that sort, and it's in beta. It's in beta.
Yeah, that's also one of the great things. Like, people complain about patches a lot these days. I love patches. I love that I could buy a game and they can fix it. Yeah, like, why is that a problem? Like, okay, well, here's Tracer's ass in my face. I don't want that. I can now play Overwatch without Tracer's ass in my face.
Hooray.
Isn't that a good thing? There's nothing wrong with game companies recognizing that they're making mistakes, and that I imagine is a big part of what GaymerX is about. Is hey, look at this.
Yeah. Like,
Are
are
there any specific game companies that you feel willing to mention at the very least that you really want to get to GaymerX, or you really want to pay attention to GaymerX?
So I mean, I would love Blizzard to come again. I mean, as a veteran of WoW, like, that's always really great to know that they are like in the corner. Intel's going to be there again. I would love to see Riot there. I'm not sure if we've talked to Riot yet. But, I just started playing League again, and I was looking through and I was like, look at this diverse race and like diverse body type characters. This is awesome. Like, I hadn't played for 4 years, and I went and looked at all the new champions, and like, there is some serious stuff going on there, and it's amazing.
So it's really, you're seeing it happen in real time, right? That the games of your childhood or the characters of your childhood are not all that's left anymore.
Yeah.
Which is great, right? That's what it's all about. Are there any anything that's going to be unveiled at GaymerX? Any exclusives? Is that kind of convention?
I am not sure. That's a great question. I feel like I heard rumblings about it, but I wasn't sure if it was a tabletop thing or a video game thing. We have some guests coming from tabletop that are really exciting too, that I can't say anything about.
Some guests.
That is still secret.
We can say there are some special guests. Use that term?
Yes,
special guests with the tabletop.
That's going to be really exciting, and I think they're unveiling something there.
Cool.
Dungeons and Dragons maybe related.
Really?
Maybe Paizo related. That's
exciting.
Yeah.
What other games could people play at GaymerX?
Ooh, so we actually have the big expo hall for vendors and everything like that, and then hopefully outside the expo hall, we're still getting our map 100% locked down. We are going to have an arcade. So like
cool.
Legit arcade machines like DDR. We're gonna have Rock Band. All these games that you can play all the time, which is really exciting. We normally
Bring
have
your quarters.
Yeah, we normally have a ton of visual novels, which is really interesting.
Visual novels.
Yes, visual novels.
Tell me about that.
So visual novels are they are kind of like choose your own adventure books. Do you remember those from the good old days?
Yeah.
Except for with a video game. So like a character will come up and like you get your choices of what to say. It's like BioWare RPG. Choose your speech, and then different stuff happens. So normally
kind of like a Telltale game, but more dialogue driven.
Yes, exactly that same thing. So that's a really big, I want to say like queer part of games. There seems to be a lot of visual novels because you don't need a ton of coding, you don't need a ton of art, and you get to tell a story, which is what so many queer people want to do, is just like tell a story. So. I'm excited to see which new ones are there.
That's just a great opportunity just to get the voices out there, right? Hey, look at all these stories that you're not hearing because you're only hiring straight people.
Yes.
What other games? I'm sure there's lots of games at GaymerX that I mainly play mainstream games because they're really in my face and I only have so much time.
Right.
Like I said, I'm still playing Fallout 4. It's been months and I just can't stop. So what are a bunch of the games so I can, if for nothing else, so I can go home and play them that have great representation that are featured at GaymerX year after year that somebody like me wouldn't know about?
Oh man. Okay, so top of that, just with the ability to really make a character that speaks to you. Read-only memories, which, made by Midboss. What are some other ones recently that have been great? Oh, shoot. I'm so in it, too. I'm not playing any games. I'm going to embarrass myself. Trying to delve deep into that part of my brain. I'll get back to you on it.
All right.
let me think about it.
What's your representation wise? What's your favorite game? What's the one that you think like the most people can enjoy this game?
That's a great question. I super love Dragon Age, just as the whole thing. There's still the binary thing, but I adore the amount of care that goes into the storytelling. I appreciate that since game one, you've been able to have polyamorous relationships. You can have gay or straight relationships. And, there's the full character customization and then also the amount of personalization you can put into dialogue trees and everything like that. Since game one has been just like off the charts for me. And we always like to have BioWare people at GaymerX too. So
yeah, and of course BioWare is, I mean, like I said, even from games like Jet Empire, where that was my first experience of like I played through as a male character, and I played through as a female character, and like the same characters were hitting on me.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is so cool. I've never like this is like. Oh, look at all this. Look at how many different things I could do. And since then, I now love playing as female characters because the world interacts to them, I think, usually more interestingly. And they always have better customization options.
Yeah.
The clothing options.
You don't get like the three like barely there side cut.
there's short, medium, and long for the guy's hair.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like nothing, a half an inch, and an inch. Those are your options. I personally appreciate more and more games now allow me to have a giant beard and long hair. Like I do. I can finally do that.
Guild Wars 2. You can definitely have a giant beard.
Are there any games though? There's a lot to be said about when you remove customization from a storytelling aspect, you can make the protagonist a character.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's often the you have to play as this man, as this woman, as this whatever, because it's the story. Are there any games like that you think you use or utilize representation of LGBT characters well? Like, is there any great games with a gay protagonist that people are missing out on because there's a gay protagonist and not talking about it enough?
So I am not like one of the problems with that is that there is just not enough money to make these AAA quality games that feature characters like that. So the only ways that you're going to find that is in small indie games that don't get a lot of press, unfortunately. Like if you ask your average male gamer to like go and play a gay guy, that's rough. Like on them, like they have a hard time doing that. Like, and the only game that's coming to mind is Grand Theft Auto, and it was played as a joke, like weirdly the whole time, like, oh, look at you have to be a gay guy now, go ride around on your scooter,
right?
Like, and it's like, ooh.
The character's name is literally
Gay
Tony. And like there are certain red flags for when you're wandering into tokenism territory.
that'll do
and
it.
And when the adjective and the name and the tokenism are all the same word, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
So I mean I'm unfortunately not that surprised that the answer is nothing really yet.
But like it's something that I think in the next 3 years will change, because if you think about how long a development cycle for a game is, like AAA games are like 3 years in development.
Right.
So the things that we're talking about now are going to come into fruition that far down the line. So I'm super excited. And I would love it if there were more games made with that strong protagonist versus customization that explored different things, that weren't always like, I'm a rough white guy and I need to go treasure hunting.
If for nothing else, then, and I've found this again, it's like I being just a cis straight white male have the opportunity in games like that to be and experience something I'm not, but at the same time that there's something to be said about every time you play a character that doesn't match your identity, you find though that like 80% of the game is doing what you would do anyway.
Yeah.
Right? That like really we're not all that different. In the case of video games, we're all gonna cut that dude's head off because this is a video game, and in 80% of video games, you're a professional murderer.
Yeah.
Like that I think is part of the real benefit of like if we have this gay or trans protagonist that then shows gamers, look how much we're all actually the same. Look at how much we think that monster is cool and that monster is scary.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter otherwise.
Well, and I do want to say also that there's like no problem in participating in or playing games that are this standard white cis straight male or whatever. Like there's no problem with it. Please do it. Please support games and buy them, and don't ban them from your Steam library if they don't have an LGBT protagonist or anything like that, because like stories are important and playing games is fun. And I like at GaymerX we also don't want it to ever sound like, oh, you guys didn't include a gay character, this game probably sucks, and so do you. Like, we don't ever want that to feel that way. But just, like, the point of it is, like, hey, there's a lot of us. Like, there's a lot of gay gamers. There's a lot of trans gamers. There's a lot of non-gender conforming gamers. And, like, if you have 1,000 NPCs in your game, can some of them please represent us?
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy, right? You mentioned thousands of NPCs in the game. You'd think there'd be a point at which,
and we have one.
Yeah, wouldn't somebody? And this always baffles me. I'm a writer, and I write with a partner, and we often stop and look and are like, all right, wait, we all these are male names. We need to change some of these characters to women and make some of these characters whatever, because we need to when this ends up being a thing, it needs to actually feel real. And it baffles me how many creators are like, well, we modeled 972 white men today, and that's going to be good.
Yep.
That's going to be good for a whole game. Yep. Like, nobody thought it was like, and nobody who's making those games is like, maybe I want to make this one a woman, Like, that doesn't enter it. But I think now, and like you said, it takes time, and also people like you and I who grew up without any representation are now, you're now making sure games have better representation. That's part of it too. Generationally, the people playing games become the people making games.
Yes, for sure.
Are there any games that are popular at GaymerX that you don't find are that popular elsewhere for whatever reason?
Read-only memories. No, read-only memories is great, but it didn't get as much of a press push as some games get. I'm also personally excited about Night in the Woods. Yeah, Night in the Woods coming out this year.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so that is a adventure game that is done by 3 people who have not made a game together before. So it's Scott Benson, Bethany Hockenberry, and Alec. I can't remember his last name, but so it's coming out on PS4 and Steam and Xbox and everything. But you are a high school or a college dropout coming back to your hometown, and everything has changed. And it's like, I played the demo at the EMP when they had their video game exhibit, and me and my friend switched off controllers and stopped ourselves from crying several times because it was too real. It was just these are conversations I've had with my friends. These are conversations I've had with my parents.
So just stellar writing.
They're animal people, cute little animal people, and then it's just real. And 2 of the protagonists are gay. So there's
Cool.
a little gay relationship.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of cheating with that question because I knew the answer was going to be no. It's all about marketing. These are all great games. Like, of course
It is all
like,
about marketing.
gamers like good games, and I'm telling you, I'm going to go home and check out Read Only Memories. Now this game seems really cool.
Yeah.
When's that game coming out?
Read Only Memories has been
Not
out.
Read Only Memories.
Night in the Woods. Ooh, I feel like it's fall.
Okay.
But if you are going to PAX East, they will be there with a slice of the game. It's not the demo anymore. It's like a real life slice. So play it and tell me everything.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time. We got to get out of here because, of course, Rabbit Stew is up next. But before we go, I just want to reiterate that the Kickstarter for GaymerX is live right now for 6 more days up till April 12th. The convention itself is on September 30th to October 2nd in Santa Clara, California.
It's the same weekend as the Final Fantasy 15 release. That's how you can remember.
There you go. There you go. So you go to the
Come
convention,
celebrate
you come
with
home,
us.
You binge FF15. It's all good.
Boy road trip.
Yeah. It'll be lots of fun. Get tickets now because if you wait 6 more days, they're going to get more expensive. Thanks to Mel Fox for being on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Stick around, of course, for Rabbit Stew. Thanks for checking out the show.